My best friend accused my husband of a life-ruining crime, but the incident was recorded. I am a mess while I type this. I apologize for any spelling mistakes since I only just found out about this disturbing news. I have been best friends with Sue since I was in first grade. She has been there with me through the death of my father, and miscarriages, and we have spoken every single day for the past 3 decades. She is the warmest, kindest person I know, and even after a lifetime of friendship we haven't had any major conflicts. She is actually the person who introduced me to my husband, Ken. Ken was Sue's childhood friend. He ended up reaching out to her on Facebook after they hadn't seen each other since they were kids. Sue and I had lunch plans that day, so she asked if I wanted to come along. From the moment me and Ken laid eyes on each other, there was an instant attraction. He was tall, had gorgeous dark hair and eyes, and as soon as we all sat down to talk, sparks flew between me and Ken. I guess I didn't notice at the time, but during that lunch, Ken and I ended up speaking a bit more than he and Sue had, even though he was there to see her. Sue and him talked about some old memories, but she was quiet after Ken and I began talking. Ken worked in the same field as I, and initially, we started talking about work, but after she excused herself from the lunch we continued to connect more, and it basically became our first date. I spoke with Sue after, and she said she was happy that Ken and I had connected, but she wished she had a little more time to catch up with him. I apologized to her about accidentally steamrolling her lunch date, but she said it wasn't an issue and asked me about how I liked Ken. Ken and I dated for 2 years before he proposed. He moved into my house. We started a business together, and recently we began trying for kids. Sue and him remained friends, and we would often hang out all together at my house. Before this incident, I never thought Ken would do anything to hurt Sue. They always seemed to get along, but that all changed when I had Sue over for a barbecue the other night. I was hosting a couple of our friends, and I noticed that Sue was drinking pretty heavily. I was making sure she was eating and drinking water, and towards the end of the night I tucked her into the guest room. But when I went to go check on her the next morning, the bed was empty. I texted her a couple of times and got no answer, but when I finally walked downstairs I found my husband sitting on the couch looking stressed. I asked him what was wrong, and he told me that something bad happened last night and he had to tell me about it right now. I thought maybe another one of our friends had gotten sick before he told me that he didn't think Sue should be allowed back in the house anymore. I was confused until he explained what happened between the two of them. By the time he was done talking, I felt like I could throw up in my hands. After I had gone to sleep, my husband went to put a fresh glass of water on Sue's nightstand, but when he went into the guest room, Sue was sitting up in the bed. He said he started walking in to place the water down, but Sue asked him to stay and talk to her for a bit. He said he walked in and sat down, but as soon as she started talking he could tell she was still pretty intoxicated and incoherent. My husband started crying at this point, and apologized for me for not just walking out right then. I started crying as well. Sure, I was about to hear about how my husband had cheated with my best friend while I slept in the next room. Instead, Ken explained how Sue started rambling about how it should have been her, and telling my husband that it was them that should have been together. Telling him how inviting me to their lunch date was the biggest regret of her life. My husband got up at this point and said that he loved me and he would never be interested in her that way, but when he tried to leave, Sue ripped the blanket off herself, revealing that she had no bottoms on. My husband kept backing up, but Sue came at him. She pushed him against the wall and tried to kiss him, but my husband pushed her hard to the floor. He said it was one of the scariest moments of his life, because he needed to defend himself, but he knew he didn't want to hurt her. I held him as he kept crying. He was a victim and I believed him. After we finished telling him the story, I made him lunch and we spoke a little more before he went to take a nap. While my husband was sleeping, I got a paragraph text from Sue.
Now you can watch the second part by pressing share and more.